Which number in Pennsylvania Avenue is the White House? 1600. The White House is located at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue NW in Washington, D.C. It serves as the official residence and principal workplace of the President of the United States. In river geography, what is a distributary? A river that branches off from a main river and flows away, usually not rejoining it. A distributary is a stream that branches off and flows away from a main river channel, typically found in river deltas. Unlike a tributary, which flows into a larger river, a distributary carries water and sediment away from the main stem, contributing to the complex networks observed in deltaic environments. What structures appear on the reverse sides of all euro banknotes? Bridges. Euro banknotes feature generic architectural styles and bridges, rather than specific national monuments. This design choice was intended to emphasize cooperation and communication among European nations, avoiding any perceived preference for a particular country's landmarks. According to the Old Testament, who invented wine? Noah. In the Old Testament, the book of Genesis attributes the invention of wine to Noah, who planted a vineyard after the Great Flood. This account marks one of the earliest biblical mentions of viticulture and its products, highlighting its historical and cultural significance in ancient texts. Who was the last person to hold the title, Queen of Ireland? Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother. The title, Queen of Ireland, was held by British monarchs and their consorts until the Republic of Ireland Act 1948 effectively severed the last constitutional link with the British Crown. Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, as consort to King George VI, was de facto the last to hold this title before the full establishment of the Republic. In science, what symbol is normally used for the speed of light? c. The symbol, c, represents the speed of light in a vacuum, a fundamental physical constant. It is approximately 299,792,458 meters per second and plays a crucial role in Einstein's theory of relativity, E equals mc squared. Jimmy Wales was the co-founder of which major website? Wikipedia. Jimmy Wales co-founded Wikipedia, a free, web-based, collaborative, multilingual encyclopedia project, with Larry Sanger in 2001. It has become one of the most widely used reference sites globally, driven by community contributions. Plovdiv is the second largest city of which European country? Bulgaria. Plovdiv is one of the oldest cities in Europe and the second largest in Bulgaria, after the capital Sofia. It is a significant cultural and economic center, known for its ancient Roman and Thracian heritage. Where in England is the ceremony of the keys held every evening? Tower of London. The ceremony of the keys is a traditional locking up ritual that has taken place at the Tower of London every night for at least 700 years. It involves the chief yeoman warder and the escort to the keys securing the tower for the night, symbolizing its continued historical guardianship. On which day are American presidential elections always held? Tuesday. U.S. presidential elections are always held on the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November. This tradition dates back to 1845 when Congress chose this day to allow for travel and minimize disruption to religious observances. Which British fabric has an OB trademark? Harris tweed. Harris tweed is a high-quality, hand-woven tweed cloth produced in the Outer Hebrides of Scotland. It is protected by an Act of Parliament and certified by the Harris Tweed Authority, which grants the famous OB mark of authenticity. Which Australian painter, born in 1917, is renowned for his portraits of the outlaw Ned Kelly? Sidney Nolan. Sidney Nolan, 1917 to 1992, was a prominent Australian artist, celebrated for his modernist works. His iconic series depicting the bushranger Ned Kelly, often featuring a black, square helmet, is considered a significant contribution to Australian art, exploring themes of national identity and myth. Which German canal connects the North Sea with the Baltic Sea? Kiel Canal. The Kiel Canal is a 98-kilometer-long, 61 miles, freshwater canal in northern Germany. It significantly shortens the sea voyage between the North Sea and the Baltic Sea, eliminating the need to navigate around the Jutland Peninsula, making it one of the world's busiest artificial waterways. Cassegrainian, Gregorian, and Schmidt are all types of what astronomical instrument? Telescope. Cassegrainian, Gregorian, and Schmidt are all distinct optical designs for telescopes, primarily used in astronomy. Each design utilizes a combination of mirrors and/or corrector plates to achieve specific focal lengths and fields of view, catering to different observational and imaging requirements. Relative density is the density of a substance relative to what common reference substance? Water. Relative density, also known as specific gravity, is the ratio of the density of a substance to the density of a reference substance. For liquids and solids, the reference substance is almost always water at a specified temperature, usually 4 degrees Celsius, making it a dimensionless quantity. Which king of Corinth is a byword for fruitless toil? Sisyphus. Sisyphus was a king in Greek mythology, condemned by Zeus to eternally roll a massive boulder up a hill, only for it to roll back down each time it neared the top. This endless and futile task has made his name synonymous with laborious and pointless efforts. According to de Gaulle, France had 246 what? Cheeses. Charles de Gaulle, the former president of France, famously remarked, "How can you govern a country which has 246 varieties of cheese?" This quote, though often cited as 246 or 300, highlights the vast diversity of French cheese and the perceived complexity of governing such a culturally rich nation. What is produced by the larva of Bombyx mori? Silk. Bombyx mori, commonly known as the domestic silkworm, is the primary producer of silk. Its larva spins a cocoon of raw silk fiber, which is then harvested and processed for textile production. This process, known as sericulture, is an ancient practice with significant economic and cultural history. The macaroni is a breed of which bird? Penguin. The macaroni penguin, Eudaptes chrysolophus, is a species of crested penguin found in the subantarctic islands and the Antarctic peninsula. They are easily recognizable by their distinctive yellow crest feathers. Whose life is the subject of the Hadith? Muhammad. The Hadith refers to the collection of traditions and sayings of the Islamic prophet Muhammad, as well as accounts of his daily practice, Sunnah. It serves as a major source of religious law and moral guidance for Muslims, second only to the Quran. Britain's oldest tabloid newspaper closed down in 1971. What was it called? Daily Sketch. The Daily Sketch was a British national tabloid newspaper that ceased publication in 1971. Founded in 1900, it was known for its pictorial emphasis, and its closure marked a significant moment in the history of British journalism, as it merged with the Daily Mail. Which is the only Dickens novel to have a female narrator? Bleak House. Bleak House, by Charles Dickens, is notable for having a dual narrative, with one part told by an omniscient third-person narrator and the other by Esther Summerson, a female character. This makes it unique among Dickens's works for featuring a significant portion narrated by a woman, providing a distinct perspective on the novel's themes of legal injustice and social critique. What is the devil's appendix in CWM Idwal, Snowdonia? Waterfall. The Devil's Appendix is a prominent waterfall located in Cwm Idwal, a glacial cirque in Snowdonia National Park, Wales. It is a striking geological feature known for its steep drop and is a popular destination for hikers and climbers due to its dramatic scenery. What is the largest firth in Scotland? Moray Firth. The Moray Firth is the largest firth, a long, narrow inlet of the sea, in Scotland, extending for over 100 miles. It is a significant natural feature, known for its diverse marine life, including bottlenose dolphins, and holds importance for coastal communities. What is the common name of the small flowering tree, Syringa? Lilac. Syringa is the scientific genus name for the flowering plants commonly known as lilacs. These ornamental shrubs are famous for their fragrant, often purple, white, or pink flowers that typically bloom in spring, making them popular in gardens. What commonality exists among the plants dahlia, fuchsia, and gardenia? They are all named after people. Many plant genera and species are named in honor of botanists, naturalists, or patrons who contributed significantly to their discovery or study. For instance, dahlia is named after Anders Dahl, fuchsia after Leonhard Fuchs, and gardenia after Alexander Garden. Which poisonous plant has a name that translates to beautiful woman in Italian? Belladonna, Atropa belladonna. Belladonna, also known as deadly nightshade, is a highly poisonous plant native to Europe, North Africa, and Western Asia. Its name, meaning beautiful lady, in Italian, refers to its historical use by women to dilate their pupils, which was considered attractive, despite its extreme toxicity. In desert regions, what phenomenon is referred to as a haboob? A sandstorm. A haboob is a type of intense dust storm or sandstorm that is carried on an atmospheric gravity current. These powerful weather events are common in arid and semi-arid regions around the world, particularly in the Sahara Desert, the Arabian Peninsula, and parts of North America. Octa is a unit of measurement for what meteorological phenomenon? Cloud cover. An octa is a unit used in meteorology to describe the amount of cloud cover at any given location, as observed from the ground. The sky is divided into 8 parts, and the number of 8s covered by cloud indicates the octa value, with 0 octas representing clear sky and 8 octas being completely overcast. What is the unit of measurement for wind speed, commonly used in aviation and maritime contexts? Knot. A knot is a unit of speed equal to 1 nautical mile per hour, approximately 1.852 km per hour or 1.151 miles per hour. It is widely used in maritime and aeronautical navigation and meteorology due to its direct relation to nautical miles, which are standard for distance over water or in the air. What word was used for the costume or outfit of a court jester? Motley. A court jester, also known as a fool, was historically an entertainer employed in the medieval and Renaissance courts of Europe. Their costume, often called motley, was typically brightly colored and patched, symbolizing their unconventional role and wit. Born in 1801, who led the Mormons into Utah and co-founded Salt Lake City? Brigham Young. Brigham Young was a prominent leader in the Latter-day Saint movement, succeeding Joseph Smith as the head of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He led his followers on a historic westward migration to the Salt Lake Valley, where he played a pivotal role in the founding and development of Salt Lake City, Utah. Francis Walsingham was the spymaster for which monarch? Elizabeth I. Sir Francis Walsingham served as Principal Secretary to Queen Elizabeth I of England from 1573 until his death in 1590. He is widely regarded as England's first spymaster, establishing an extensive intelligence network crucial for uncovering plots against the Queen, most notably the Babington Plot. Which musical instrument has a name that translates as jumping flea? Ukulele. The ukulele is a small, four-stringed musical instrument originating in Hawaii. Its name, ukulele, translates roughly to jumping flea in Hawaiian, possibly due to the rapid movement of the player's fingers across the fretboard or the instrument's small size and lively sound. Patagonia is a geographical region primarily located in which two South American countries? Argentina and Chile. Patagonia is a sparsely populated geographical region located at the southern end of South America, shared by Argentina and Chile. Known for its dramatic landscapes, including the Andes Mountains, glaciers, deserts, and grasslands, it is a significant ecological and cultural area. Which George Bernard Shaw play centers around the Salvation Army? Major Barbara. Major Barbara is a three-act play by Irish playwright George Bernard Shaw, first performed in 1905. The play explores themes of morality, religion, poverty, and capitalism, specifically through the contrasting philosophies of an armaments manufacturer and his daughter, who is a major in the Salvation Army. Which palace is the London home of the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge? Kensington Palace. Kensington Palace is a royal residence located in Kensington Gardens, London. It has been a residence of the British royal family since the 17th century and serves as the official London residence for several members of the royal family, including the Prince and Princess of Wales, formerly the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge. What was the title of the latest David Attenborough offering on BBC One? Life Story. David Attenborough is a celebrated British broadcaster and natural historian, known for his pioneering nature documentaries. Life Story, 2014, is one of his critically acclaimed BBC series, showcasing the struggles animals face throughout their lives. Mamity was which seaman's Tahitian wife? Fletcher Christian. Fletcher Christian was the master's mate aboard HMS Bounty, known for leading the infamous mutiny in 1789. Following the mutiny, he settled on Pitcairn Island with other mutineers and Tahitian companions, where Mamity was his partner. The Minoan civilization was based on which island? Crete. The Minoan civilization flourished on the island of Crete during the Bronze Age, from approximately 2700 to 1450 BCE. It is considered the first advanced civilization in Europe, known for its elaborate palaces, advanced artistry, and a unique writing system. What is Europe's smallest game bird? Quail. The common quail, Coturnix coturnix, is recognized as Europe's smallest game bird, belonging to the pheasant family. These migratory birds are prized for their meat and eggs, inhabiting grasslands and agricultural areas across much of Europe, Asia, and Africa. Who was the last Norman king of England? Stephen. Stephen was the last Norman king of England, reigning from 1135 to 1154. His reign was largely marked by civil war, known as the Anarchy, fought against his cousin Empress Matilda over the succession to the English throne. He was succeeded by Henry II, the first Plantagenet king. Whose first husband was Alexander Vicomte de Beauharnais? Napoleon's Josephine. Empress Josephine Bonaparte, Napoleon's first wife and Empress of the French, was initially married to Alexander de Beauharnais. Alexander was a French nobleman and general during the French Revolution, executed during the Reign of Terror, leaving Josephine a widow before she met Napoleon. Which Russian city was formerly called Tsaritsyn and Stalingrad? Volgograd. Volgograd, a major industrial city in southwestern Russia, has undergone significant name changes throughout its history. It was originally known as Tsaritsyn until 1925, then as Stalingrad from 1925 to 1961, famously associated with the pivotal Battle of Stalingrad during World War II. before being renamed Volgograd as part of the Stalinization efforts. What is the term for a seasonal country home typically owned by wealthy Russians? Dacha. A dacha is a seasonal country house or cottage, common in Russia and other post-Soviet countries. It serves as a second home for urban dwellers, used primarily for leisure activities and gardening during summer months. Into how many units is a Russian ruble divided? 100 kopecks. The ruble is the official currency of the Russian Federation and several other countries. Like many modern currencies, it is subdivided into 100 smaller units, known as kopecks. Which geographical feature is characterized by types such as block, shoot, plunge, funnel, horsetail, or fan? Waterfall. These terms describe different classifications or forms of waterfalls, based on their shape, width, and how the water descends. Waterfalls are significant geological features, often formed where a river or stream flows over a vertical drop or a series of steep drops in its course. What is the most likely total to result from a throw of a pair of dice? 7. When two standard six-sided dice are thrown, there are 36 possible outcomes. The sum of 7 has the highest probability as it can be formed in 6 ways: 1 plus 6, 2 plus 5, 3 plus 4, 4 plus 3, 5 plus 2, 6 plus 1, making it the most probable total. A deemster is a legal official in which part of the British Isles? Isle of Man. A deemster is a judge within the unique judicial system of the Isle of Man, a self-governing British Crown dependency. They hold a traditional and significant role in the island's legal administration. Which island group was once known as the Sandwich Islands? Hawaii. The Hawaiian Islands were named the Sandwich Islands by Captain James Cook in 1778. This was done in honor of John Montagu, 4th Earl of Sandwich, a patron of Cook. Which large British mammal has the Latin name Cervus elephas? Red deer. Cervus elephas is the scientific binomial name for the red deer, one of the largest native terrestrial mammals in the British Isles in Europe. This Latin classification ensures universal identification regardless of local names. What is the Latin name for the common buzzard? Buteo buteo. Buteo buteo is the scientific name for the common buzzard, a widely distributed medium-sized bird of prey found across much of Eurasia. Scientific names provide a standardized system for classifying organisms globally. Which is the most highly populated state in India? Uttar Pradesh. Uttar Pradesh is the most populous state in India, accounting for nearly 16.5% of the country's total population. Its significant demographic size influences various aspects of India's social, economic, and political landscape. Which large plateau occupies most of the land area of southern India? Deccan Plateau. The Deccan Plateau is a vast, triangular plateau that covers much of peninsular India. Characterized by its diverse geology, including rich volcanic soils and ancient rock formations, it has historically been a cradle for numerous civilizations and empire. What was the family name of the rulers of Russia from 1613 to 1917? Romanov. The Romanov dynasty ruled Russia for over 300 years, from the election of Mikhail Romanov in 1613 until the abdication of Nicholas II in 1917. Their reign marked a period of significant expansion and modernization for the Russian Empire, ending with the Russian Revolution. Digitalis is a genus of about 20 species of herbaceous perennials, shrubs, and biennials that are commonly called foxglove. Digitalis, commonly known as foxglove, is a genus of flowering plants. Extracts from certain species, particularly Digitalis purpurea, have historically been used to produce drugs like digoxin, which is crucial for treating heart conditions such as heart failure and irregular heartbeats. What is the capital city of New York State in the USA? Albany. Albany is the capital city of the U.S. state of New York. Located on the Hudson River, it serves as the political center for the state government and has a rich history dating back to its establishment as a Dutch trading post in the early 17th century. In which city did American colonists dump tea imported from England into a harbor in 1773? Boston. The Boston Tea Party was a political protest by American colonists in Boston, Massachusetts, on December 16, 1773. This act of defiance against British taxation, specifically the Tea Act, was a pivotal event leading to the American Revolution. Which British scientist is best known for his study of gravitation, his work on the spectrum, his statement on the laws of motion, the construction of telescopes, and his work on geometry and differential calculus? Isaac Newton. Sir Isaac Newton was an English mathematician, physicist, astronomer, alchemist, theologian, and author widely recognized as one of the greatest and most influential scientists of all time. His work Principia Mathematica formulated the laws of motion and universal gravitation, laying the foundations for classical mechanics. Which ragtime pianist, between 1894 and 1915, composed tunes such as The Entertainer, that became popular in 1973 after being included in the film The Sting? Scott Joplin. Scott Joplin was an American composer and pianist, known as the King of Ragtime. He achieved fame for his ragtime compositions, with Maple Leaf Rag and The Entertainer being among his most celebrated works. Joplin's music played a significant role in the development of American popular music. Which Liverpudlian was Prime Minister of Great Britain 4 times in the 19th century? William Gladstone. William Ewart Gladstone was a prominent British statesman who served as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom 4 separate times between 1868 and 1894. A key figure in the Liberal Party, he was known for his reforms, fiscal policy, and oratorical skills, profoundly influencing 19th-century British politics. Which island territory is a self-governing unincorporated territory of the USA? Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is an unincorporated territory of the United States located in the Northeast Caribbean Sea. While its residents are U.S. citizens, they do not have full voting representation in the U.S. Congress and cannot vote in presidential elections, highlighting its unique political status. Queen Charlotte Taboo ruled over which country from 1918 to 1965? Tonga. Queen Charlotte Tupou III was the Queen of Tonga from 1918 to 1965. Her long reign saw Tonga maintain its independence and traditional culture while adapting to modern influences. She was highly respected internationally and played a crucial role in Tonga's development. In Greek legend, Ulysses sailed safely between what? Scylla and Charybdis. In Greek mythology, Scylla and Charybdis were two sea monsters located on opposite sides of a narrow strait. Sailors, including Odysseus, Ulysses in Latin, had to navigate this dangerous passage, choosing between the six-headed Scylla who would devour men, and the whirlpool Charybdis that would swallow entire ships, symbolizing a perilous dilemma. Which German-born political scientist and Nobel Peace Prize winner served as National Security Advisor and later concurrently as Secretary of State in the Richard Nixon administration? Henry Kissinger. Henry Kissinger was a prominent diplomat and political scientist who played a pivotal role in U.S. foreign policy during the Nixon administration. He was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1973 for his efforts in negotiating a ceasefire in Vietnam. In which city did Rosa Parks refuse to obey a bus driver's order to give up her seat for a white passenger on December 1, 1955, becoming an important symbol of the modern civil rights movement? Montgomery, Alabama. Rosa Parks' refusal in Montgomery, Alabama, on December 1, 1955, sparked the Montgomery bus boycott, a pivotal event in the civil rights movement. Her act of defiance challenged segregation laws and brought national attention to racial injustice in the United States. Who was the 17th century English architect who designed St. Paul's Cathedral, London? Christopher Wren. Sir Christopher Wren was a renowned English architect responsible for rebuilding 52 churches in the City of London after the Great Fire of London in 1666, including his masterpiece, St. Paul's Cathedral. His work is considered a prime example of English Baroque architecture. What is a large semi-aquatic rodent native to Canada, much of the United States, and parts of northern Mexico that constructs homes out of sticks, twigs, and mud in lakes or streams? Beaver. Beavers are known for their remarkable ability to construct dams and lodges from wood, rocks, and mud. These structures create wetland habitats beneficial for various species and significantly alter their environments. In which country was Pol Pot Prime Minister from 1976 to 1979 and leader of the communist movement known as the Khmer Rouge? Cambodia. Pol Pot was the leader of the Khmer Rouge, a communist movement that ruled Cambodia from 1975 to 1979. His regime was responsible for the Cambodian genocide, a period of widespread human rights abuses and mass killings that resulted in the deaths of millions. Who was found guilty of the assassination of Robert F. Kennedy in 1963? Sirhan Bishra Sirhan. Robert F. Kennedy, a prominent American politician and presidential candidate, was assassinated in June 1968, not 1963. This is a minor correction to the input questions here. Sirhan Bishra Sirhan was convicted of his murder and sentenced to life imprisonment. The assassination had a profound impact on American politics and society. In which Australian city can be found the suburbs of Indooroopilly, Jamboree Heights, Jindali and Kangaroo Point? Brisbane. Brisbane is the capital of Queensland, Australia, and its third most populous city. The listed suburbs are well-known areas within the Greater Brisbane region, reflecting its urban sprawl and distinct geographical divisions and local identities. The phrase, "beyond the pale," refers to the history of which country? Ireland. The phrase, "beyond the pale," historically refers to the English Pale, a fortified area around Dublin controlled by the English during medieval times. Areas, beyond the pale, were considered outside the boundaries of English law and civilization, thus wild, unruly, or uncivilized. Which tuber of the nightshade family was cultivated by the Incas, was taken to Spain from Peru in the 16th century and to Ireland from Virginia in the 16th century? Potato. The potato, a crucial tuber and staple food crop, originated in the Andes region of South America and was first domesticated by the Incas. Its introduction to Europe in the 16th century significantly impacted global agriculture and population growth, becoming a primary food source, particularly in Ireland. Which English-born sculptor is best known for his abstract monumental bronze sculptures, usually depicting mother and child or reclining figures, that are pierced or contain hollow spaces? Henry Moore. Henry Moore was a hugely influential British sculptor renowned for his abstract, monumental bronze works. His distinctive style often featured reclining figures and mother and child themes, characterized by organic forms, piercing, and hollow spaces, reflecting a deep connection to nature and the human form. With which activity is Boris Spassky primarily associated? Chess. Boris Spassky is a renowned Russian chess grandmaster and former world chess champion, holding the title from 1969 to 1972. He is famously known for his match against Bobby Fischer in 1972, often dubbed the match of the century, which significantly boosted chess's global popularity. Which country was proclaimed a republic in 1867, following the withdrawal of the French administration and the execution of Emperor Ferdinand Maximilian? Mexico. The Second Mexican Empire, led by Emperor Maximilian I, collapsed in 1867 with the withdrawal of French support amidst strong Mexican resistance. Maximilian was subsequently captured and executed, leading to the restoration of the Mexican Republic under President Benito Juárez, a pivotal event in Mexican history. In Greek legend, into what form did the goddess Aphrodite transform Adonis? Anemone flower. In Greek mythology, Adonis was a beautiful youth loved by Aphrodite. After he was tragically killed by a wild boar, Aphrodite, in her grief, sprinkled nectar on his blood, which caused the anemone flower to bloom. This myth serves as an etiological explanation for the flow's ephemeral beauty. Who is the king of Thailand? Bhumibol Adulyadej. Bhumibol Adulyadej, Rama IX, reigned as king of Thailand from 1946 until his death in 2016, making him the world's longest reigning monarch at the time. He was a deeply revered figure and a symbol of national unity, deeply involved in numerous development projects. His son, Maha Vajiralongkorn, Rama X, succeeded him. Which New Zealand-born and New York-based artist, renowned for his kinetic sculptures created between 1950 and 1980, also pioneered experimental films by directly manipulating celluloid with dyes, stencils, and airbrushes? Len Lai. Lei Lai, 1901 to 1980, was a pioneering artist known for his experimental films and kinetic sculptures. He was a significant figure in the avant-garde movement, famous for direct film techniques where he painted a scratch directly onto film stock. His work explored movement, light, and sound, influencing generations of artists. What is the freezing point of water, expressed in degrees Fahrenheit? 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Water freezes at 0 degrees Celsius, or 273.15 Kelvin, at standard atmospheric pressure. This temperature is equivalent to 32 degrees Fahrenheit, a common scale used primarily in the United States for everyday temperature measurements. Understanding these conversions is fundamental in general science. Which major conflict concluded with peace negotiations at Panmunjom, culminating on July 27, 1953? The Korean War. The Korean War, fought between North Korea, supported by China and the Soviet Union, and South Korea, supported by the United Nations, primarily the United States, ended with an armistice agreement signed at Panmunjom on July 27, 1953. This armistice established the Korean Demilitarized Zone, DMZ, but did not result in a formal peace treaty, leaving the two Koreas technically still at war. There is an Irish county called Down. County Down is one of the 6 counties of Northern Ireland, located in the northeast of the island. It is known for its natural beauty, including the Mourne Mountains, and its historical significance. What was the name of the group that invaded the Olympic Village at Munich in 1972, killing 2 Israelis and holding 9 others hostage, resulting in a firefight killing 15 people, including all the athletes and 5 terrorists? Black September. The Munich massacre occurred during the 1972 Summer Olympics when Palestinian terrorist group Black September took 11 Israeli Olympic team members hostage. The tragic event resulted in the deaths of all hostages, 5 terrorists, and a West German police officer, highlighting the vulnerability of international events to political violence. Which animal has very low metabolic rates and a quarter of the muscle tissue of animals of similar size, and whose hair grows in a direction opposite to that of its extremities? Sloth. Sloths are known for their extremely low metabolic rates and slow movements, an adaptation to their low-energy diet of leaves. Their unique hair growth pattern, from belly to back, allows rainwater to run off easily as they typically hang upside down. Which King of England was nicknamed Rufus? William II. William II, son of William the Conqueror, reigned as King of England from 1087 to 1100. He was commonly known as William Rufus, a nickname believed to stem from his ruddy complexion and red hair. Whose discovery, that there were other galaxies in existence besides the Milky Way, was announced in 1925? Edwin Hubble. Edwin Hubble's groundbreaking observations in the 1920s, particularly of Cepheid variables in the Andromeda Nebula, proved that many spiral nebulae were in fact independent galaxies far beyond the Milky Way. This discovery dramatically expanded humanity's understanding of the universe's scale and structure. In 1956, British and French forces invaded a country in North Africa due to a dispute over which engineering work? Suez Canal. The Suez Crisis of 1956 involved the invasion of Egypt by Israel, followed by Britain and France, after Egyptian President Jamal Abdel Nasser nationalized the Suez Canal. The international outcry and intervention by the United States and the Soviet Union ultimately forced the withdrawal of the invading forces, marking a significant moment in post-colonial history and shifting global power dynamics. What is the world's only alpine parrot? Kea. The Kea, Nestor notabilis, is a large species of parrot endemic to the alpine regions of the South Island of New Zealand. It is known for its intelligence and curiosity, often interacting with humans in mountainous areas. Who organized a congress in Paris, on June 23, 1894, to establish the International Olympic Committee, IOC, and choose the host city for the 1896 Olympic Games? Baron de Coubertin. Baron Pierre de Coubertin was a French educator and historian, best known as the founder of the International Olympic Committee. He championed the revival of the Olympic Games, leading to the first modern Olympics in Athens in 1896. Which king of Egypt abdicated in favor of his infant son in July 1952? Farouk. King Farouk I was the 10th ruler of Egypt from the Muhammad Ali dynasty and the penultimate king of Egypt and Sudan. He was forced to abdicate in 1952 during the Egyptian Revolution, which ultimately led to the establishment of a republic. In Victorian England, a hunter was a common term for a type of what? Pocket watch. In Victorian England, a hunter referred to a type of pocket watch where the crystal and dial are protected by a spring-hinged metal lead. This design was popular for its durability and elegant appearance, often favored by gentlemen. In 1838, which steamship made the first crossing of the Atlantic Ocean, from Bristol to New York? The Great Western. The SS Great Western was a wooden-hulled paddle-wheel steamship designed by Isambard Kingdom Brunel. In 1838, it achieved the remarkable feat of making the first regular transatlantic crossing by a purpose-built steamship, significantly reducing travel time between Europe and North America. The distance of the first modern Olympic marathon in 1896 was 40 kilometers, 24 miles 85 yards. So why, at the 1908 London Olympic Games, was it run over its now standard distance of 42.195 kilometers, 26 miles 385 yards? So that it finished in front of the British royal family's box. The standard marathon distance of 42.195 kilometers, 26 miles 385 yards, was established at the 1908 London Olympic Games. The distance was extended to ensure the race would finish directly in front of the royal box at the White City Stadium, making it a memorable spectacle for the British royal family. Chicago, Illinois, USA, is on the shores of what body of water? Lake Michigan. Chicago, a major city in the United States, is located on the southwestern shores of Lake Michigan. Lake Michigan is one of the 5 Great Lakes of North America and is the only one located entirely within the United States. Which Olympic Games were the first to be broadcast worldwide on television? 1964, Tokyo. The 1964 Tokyo Olympics marked a significant milestone in broadcasting history, as they were the first Olympic Games to be transmitted globally via satellite. This event demonstrated the rapidly advancing capabilities of television and satellite technology, bringing the international spectacle to a worldwide audience unprecedentedly. What is the name for the 2 collections of lymphoid tissues, located one on either side of the throat, level with the base of the tongue? Tonsils. Tonsils are prominent masses of lymphoid tissue located at the back of the throat, playing a crucial role in the immune system. They help filter pathogens entering the body through the mouth and nose, acting as the first line of defense against infections. Who, while serving as Secretary General of the United Nations, was killed in a plane crash in northern Rhodesia, now Zambia, in 1961? Dag Hammarskjöld. Dag Hammarskjöld, the second Secretary General of the United Nations, tragically died in a plane crash in 1961 while on a peace mission to resolve the Congo crisis. His death remains a subject of investigation and controversy, highlighting the dangers faced by international peacemakers. What significant man-made waterway was constructed between 1859 and 1869? The Suez Canal. The Suez Canal, completed in 1869, is a crucial artificial sea-level waterway in Egypt, connecting the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea. Its construction dramatically shortened maritime trade routes between Europe and Asia, fundamentally altering global commerce and geopolitics. What is the second northernmost state of the USA located on the Pacific coast? Washington. Washington is the second northernmost state on the Pacific coast of the United States, situated south of Alaska and north of Oregon. Known for its diverse geography, including the Cascade Mountains and Puget Sound, it plays a vital role in technology, agriculture, and international trade. What is another common name for China clay? Kaolin. China clay, also known as kaolin, is a soft, white, plastic clay mineral composed primarily of kaolinite. It is widely used in various industries, including ceramics, porcelain, paper manufacturing, cosmetics, and is a filler in paints and rubber due to its desirable properties. What was the first alliance entered by the USA in peacetime after World War II? NATO. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, was established in 1949 as a collective defense alliance among North American and European states. It marked the first peacetime military alliance for the United States, signifying a major shift in its foreign policy after World War II. Which one of these planets was not represented in the musical work by Gustav Holst called The Planets? Earth. Gustav Holst's orchestral suite, The Planets, comprises 7 movements, each named after a planet of the solar system and its corresponding astrological character. Notably, Earth was not included in his composition, nor was Pluto, which was discovered much later. What word refers to a measure used in Scotland for liquids, chiefly beer, equaling 9 gallons? Firkin. A firkin is a historical unit of volume, primarily used for liquids like beer, and traditionally equates to a quarter of a barrel or 9 gallons. While less common in modern usage, it represents a part of traditional measurement systems. What was the name for a foul smell believed to carry diseases, since discredited by the discovery of infectious agents? Miasma. The miasma theory was a prevalent but now discredited scientific theory of disease transmission, holding that diseases were caused by a noxious form of bad air or foul smell. It was eventually replaced by the germ theory of disease in the late 19th century. In 1990, mountain climbers Rob Hall and Gary Ball were the first to do what in 7 months? Climbed the 7 summits. Rob Hall and Gary Ball became the first to climb the 7 summits, the highest mountains on each of the 7 continents, within a 7-month period in 1990. This remarkable mountaineering achievement set a new standard for speed in conquering these iconic peaks. The skull can be divided into 2 parts, the cranium and what other part? The mandible. The human skull is primarily composed of 2 main parts, the cranium, which encloses and protects the brain, and the mandible, also known as the lower jawbone. The mandible is the only movable bone of the skull and plays a crucial role in mastication and speech. Who was the first Prime Minister of India following its independence in 1947? Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Jawaharlal Nehru was a central figure in India's independence movement and became the first Prime Minister of India on August 15, 1947. He served in this role until his death in 1964, shaping India's domestic and foreign policies during its formative years. How many US states have names beginning with New? 4. The 4 US states whose names begin with New are New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, and New York. This is a factual question related to geographical naming conventions within the United States. Who authored the text upon which the musical, Cats, was based? T.S. Eliot. The acclaimed musical, Cats, by Andrew Lloyd Webber is based on T.S. Eliot's 1939 poetry collection, Old Possum's Book of Practical Cats. Eliot, a Nobel laureate, provided the complete lyrical content for the musical through his playful verses about various felines. Which perennial herb, characterized by sweet pine and citrus flavors, was regarded by the ancient Greeks and Romans as a symbol of happiness? Marjoram. Marjoram, Origanum majorana, is an aromatic herb belonging to the mint family, traditionally used in culinary and medicinal contexts. In ancient Greece and Rome, marjoram was often associated with joy and well-being, commonly used in wreaths and garlands. In which country did the fandango originate? Spain. The fandango is a lively Spanish dance characterized by its rapid tempo and often performed by a couple. It originated in Spain in the 18th century and is typically accompanied by guitars, castanets, and hand clapping. What was the name of the program approved by the US Congress in 1948 for the long-term financing of Europe's reconstruction after World War II? The Marshall Plan. The Marshall Plan, officially known as the European Recovery Program, was an American initiative enacted in 1948 to aid Western European economies in their post-World War II recovery. The plan provided over $13 billion in economic assistance, playing a crucial role in preventing the spread of communism and revitalizing European industries. Which pope assumed office on June 21, 1963? Paul VI. Pope Paul VI, born Giovanni Battista Montini, was elected to the papacy on June 21, 1963, succeeding Pope John XXIII. His pontificate was significant for its role in continuing and implementing the reforms of the Second Vatican Council. Titan is a moon of which planet? Saturn. Titan is the largest moon of Saturn and the second largest moon in the solar system. It is unique among moons for having a dense atmosphere, primarily composed of nitrogen, and clear evidence of stable bodies of surface liquid, including rivers, lakes, and seas. The Roman Colosseum was built under the direction of which emperor? Vespasian. The construction of the Colosseum, originally known as the Flavian Amphitheatre, began under Emperor Vespasian in 70-72 AD. It was completed by his successor and heir, Titus, in 80 AD, and further modified during the reign of Domitian. In which year did George Bush succeed Ronald Reagan as U.S. President? The U.S. ratified the Berne Convention on Copyright. Time Inc. and Warner Communications merged to form Time Warner, and the Exxon Valdez spilled oil in Alaska? 1989. The year 1989 was marked by several significant global events. George H.W. Bush took office as the 41st U.S. President. The U.S. ratified the Berne Convention for the Protection of Literary and Artistic Works, and the massive Exxon Valdez oil spill occurred in Alaska, causing extensive environmental damage. Which U.S. state borders another country, and no other U.S. state? Alaska. Alaska is unique among U.S. states as it shares a land border only with Canada, and not with any other U.S. state. It is separated from the contiguous United States by Canada, making its geographical isolation distinct. Who was largely responsible for the development of the jet engine, seeing the first application of his engine installed in a Gloster aircraft in 1941? Frank Whittle. Sir Frank Whittle, a British air officer and engineer, is widely credited with independently inventing the turbojet engine. His pioneering work culminated in the first successful flight of a jet-powered aircraft, the Gloster E-28-39, in 1941, revolutionizing aviation technology. Who commanded No. 11 Group RAF, responsible for the fighter defense of London and southeast England, which took the brunt of the German air attacks in the Battle of Britain? Keith Park. Air Vice Marshal Sir Keith Park was a New Zealand-born commander in the Royal Air Force. During the Battle of Britain in 1940, he commanded No. 11 Group, which defended London and southeast England, playing a crucial role in Britain's aerial victory over the Luftwaffe. What were first introduced in the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland in May 1, 1840, promoted by Rowland Hill? Postage stamps. Postage stamps were first introduced in the United Kingdom on May 1, 1840, a reform championed by Sir Rowland Hill. This innovation standardized postal rates and facilitated the widespread use of mail by making the sender responsible for postage through prepaid stamps, rather than the recipient paying upon delivery. Which Apollo mission brought the first rocks and other material from the moon? Apollo 11. Apollo 11 was the first manned mission to land on the moon, achieving this historic feat on July 20, 1969. Astronauts Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin collected lunar samples, which provided invaluable data for understanding the moon's geology and origin. In total area, in relation to Western Europe, the United States is about 2.5 times the size. The United States, with a total area of approximately 9.83 million square kilometers, is significantly larger than Western Europe. This comparison highlights the vast geographical scale of the US, encompassing diverse climates and landscapes. Which law enforcement agency was established in 1908 as a branch of the US Department of Justice? FBI. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, was established in 1908 as the Bureau of Investigation, part of the US Department of Justice. It is the principal investigative arm of the United States government, responsible for protecting the nation against terrorism, cyber attacks, and major criminal enterprises. What orchestral string instrument has a deeper tone than a violin and higher than a cello? Viola. The viola is a string instrument that belongs to the violin family, known for its rich and mellow tone. Pitched a perfect fifth below the violin and an octave above the cello, it plays a crucial role in the inner harmony of orchestral and chamber music. Who was the first black woman, second African American, and the second woman to serve as U.S. Secretary of State? Condoleezza Rice. Condoleezza Rice served as the 66th U.S. Secretary of State from 2005 to 2009 under President George W. Bush. She made history as the first African American woman and the second African American, after Colin Powell, to hold this prestigious diplomatic position. Which group of people took control of Carthage in 439 AD? Vandals. The Vandals, a Germanic tribe, established a powerful kingdom in North Africa during the 5th century AD. Under the leadership of King Gaiserec, they captured Carthage in 439 AD, making it the capital of their kingdom and a significant naval power in the Mediterranean. Which city was the site of the Dervish Rebellion and the death of the British General Gordon in 1885? Khartoum. The Siege of Khartoum, 1884 to 1885, was a significant event in British imperial history, where General Charles George Gordon defended the city against Mahdist forces. His death marked a major defeat for the British in Sudan and led to public outrage in Britain. What theory, developed by Franz Joseph Gall, in which personality traits were determined by reading bumps and fissures in the skull, was once considered a science? Phrenology. Phrenology was a pseudoscientific discipline popular in the 19th century that posited a direct link between brain areas, skull shape, and personality traits. Developed by Franz Joseph Gall, it was later discredited but played a role in early neurological studies. Who, as the world's oldest person according to the Guinness Book of Records, died in January 2009? Maria de Jesus. Maria de Jesus was a Portuguese supercentenarian recognized by Guinness World Records as the world's oldest living person at the time of her death in January 2009. She lived to be 115 years and 114 days old, representing a notable longevity record. Who described unified field theory, an attempt to unify and simplify the fundamental laws of physics, in a paper titled, On the Generalized Theory of Gravitation, in 1950? Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein dedicated the latter part of his career to developing a unified field theory, aiming to merge all fundamental forces of nature into a single theoretical framework. His work, particularly in the 1930s to 1950s, sought to generalize his theory of relativity to electromagnetism and other forces. How many of the Great Lakes form part of the border between the USA and Canada? 4. Of the 5 Great Lakes, 4 share a border between the United States and Canada: Lake Superior, Lake Huron, Lake Erie, and Lake Ontario. Lake Michigan is entirely located within the United States. In 1952, Jonas Salk invented a vaccine to prevent the spread of which disease? Polio. Jonas Salk developed the first effective inactivated polio vaccine, IPV, in 1952, which was then introduced in 1955. This breakthrough significantly reduced the incidence of polio worldwide and is considered one of the greatest medical achievements of the 20th century. What playwright wrote many of his plays for the Stephen Joseph Company in Scarborough, UK? Alan Ayckbourn. Sir Alan Ayckbourn is a prolific English playwright known for his dark comedies and complex theatrical structures. He has been closely associated with the Stephen Joseph Theatre in Scarborough for decades, premiering most of his plays there, and has significantly contributed to British theatre. Both opposing generals, the British General Wolfe and the French General Montcalm, were killed in a battle for which city in 1759? Quebec. The Battle of the Plains of Abraham, fought in 1759, was a pivotal engagement in the 7 Years' War, leading to the British conquest of New France. Both commanders, James Wolfe, British, and Louis-Joseph de Montcalm, French, died from their wounds during or shortly after the battle for Quebec City. In the 1960s, record players were manufactured to revolve at 78, 45, and 33 revolutions per minute, and what other speed? 16 revolutions per minute. Record players, or phonographs, used various rotational speeds, revolutions per minute or RPM, to play different types of records. The 16 revolutions per minute speed was a less common option, primarily used for spoken word recordings or to achieve longer play times with a lower audio fidelity. What miner's oil lamp, invented in 1815, had a wire cylinder to enclose the flame, preventing the explosion of coal gas? Davy lamp. The Davy lamp, invented by Sir Humphrey Davy in 1815, was a crucial safety device for coal miners. Its design used a fine wire gauze to enclose the flame, which cooled the combustion gases sufficiently to prevent them from igniting explosive methane gas, fire damp, in the mine atmosphere. The Taj Mahal is nearest to which city? Agra. The Taj Mahal, a UNESCO World Heritage Site and an iconic example of Mughal architecture, is an ivory white marble mausoleum located on the right bank of the Yamuna River in Agra, Uttar Pradesh, India. It was commissioned in 1632 by the Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan for his wife Mumtaz Mahal. Who wrote the play, Bent? Martin Sherman. Bent is a powerful and critically acclaimed play by Martin Sherman, first performed in 1979. The drama sheds light on the persecution of homosexuals in Nazi Germany, specifically during the Holocaust, a historical aspect often overlooked. Spain's war in 1898, with which power resulted in its loss of sovereignty over Cuba and the Philippine Islands? USA. The Spanish-American War of 1898 was a conflict primarily fought over the issue of Cuban independence from Spain. The decisive American victory led to the Treaty of Paris, in which Spain ceded Cuba, Puerto Rico, and Guam to the United States, and sold the Philippines for $20 million. In ballet, what is the name for a dance duet in which ballet steps are performed together? Pas de deux. Pas de deux, a French term meaning step of two, is a structured dance duet in classical ballet, typically performed by a male and female dancer. It serves to showcase the dancer's technical skill, artistic expression, and emotional connection to each other and the music. What star is closest to the Earth? The Sun. The Sun is the star at the center of our solar system, classified as a G-type main sequence star. It is crucial for life on Earth, providing the necessary light, heat, and energy through nuclear fusion. Which Scotsman was granted the patent in 1876 that formed the nucleus of the telephone? Alexander Graham Bell. Alexander Graham Bell, a Scottish-born inventor, scientist, and engineer, is widely credited with inventing the first practical telephone. He received his patent on March 7, 1876, revolutionizing global communication and laying the groundwork for modern telecommunications. In which war were the sieges of Mafeking, Kimberley, and Ladysmith lifted following the arrival of reinforcement British troops under the command of Lord Kitchener and Lord Roberts? Boer War. The sieges of Mafeking, Kimberley, and Ladysmith were pivotal events during the Second Boer War, 1899–1902, in South Africa. These prolonged sieges of British garrisons by Boer forces garnered significant public attention and were eventually relieved by large-scale British imperial reinforcements. The Gulf Stream, a warm ocean current, flows from the North American continent to where? British Isles. The Gulf Stream is a powerful, warm, and swift Atlantic Ocean current that originates in the Gulf of Mexico. It plays a significant role in influencing the climate of Western Europe, including the British Isles, making it considerably milder than other regions at similar latitudes. In 1960, an international agreement defined the meter in terms of the wavelength of the light emitted by which gas? Krypton. In 1960, the meter was precisely redefined as 1,650,763.73 wavelengths of the orange-red light emitted by an excited krypton-86 atom. This definition provided a highly stable and reproducible standard for length, replacing the previous physical platinum-iridium prototype bar. What is the capital of the province of Alberta, Canada? Edmonton. Edmonton is the capital city of Alberta, one of Canada's 13 provinces and territories. Situated on the North Saskatchewan River, it serves as a major economic, cultural, and political hub for the region. Which European discovered New Zealand and Australia in 1642? Abel Tasman. Abel Tasman was a Dutch navigator and explorer who, in 1642, became the first known European to reach Tasmania, New Zealand, and Fiji. His voyages significantly contributed to the early European mapping and understanding of the southern hemisphere. Who was the 15th century woman who led a French army to relieve the siege of Orleans by the English army? Joan of Arc. Joan of Arc, a French peasant girl, believed she had divine guidance to lead the French army during the 100 Years' War. Her pivotal victory at the Siege of Orleans in 1429 marked a turning point in the conflict, contributing significantly to French morale and eventual triumph. Who wrote the plays, The Cherry Orchard, Three Sisters, The Seagull, and Uncle Vanya? Anton Chekhov. Anton Chekhov was a renowned Russian playwright and short story writer, considered one of the greatest masters of the short story. His iconic plays like The Cherry Orchard and Three Sisters explore themes of human despair, the decline of the Russian aristocracy, and the challenges of societal change. Which forces were defeated by Ho Chi Minh's forces at the Battle of Dien Bien Phu in Vietnam in May 1954? French. The Battle of Dien Bien Phu in May 1954 was a decisive engagement of the First Indochina War. Ho Chi Minh's Viet Minh forces inflicted a crushing defeat on the French Union forces, leading to the end of French colonial rule in Indochina and paving the way for the Geneva Accords. What is the capital of the province of New Brunswick, Canada? Fredericton. Fredericton is the capital of New Brunswick, one of Canada's 10 provinces. Located on the St. John River, it is a significant cultural, artistic, and educational center for the region. Cambodia is better known in Asia as, and its official name was changed in 1975 temporarily to, what? Kampuchea. From 1975 to 1989, Cambodia was officially known as Democratic Kampuchea under the Khmer Rouge regime, and later the People's Republic of Kampuchea. This name change reflects a turbulent period in the nation's history, marked by genocide and political upheaval. What is someone who makes or repairs stringed instruments called? Luthier. A luthier is a skilled craftsperson who builds or repairs stringed instruments, such as violins, cellos, guitars, and mandolins. Their work requires extensive knowledge of woodworking, acoustics, and the intricate mechanics of musical instruments, making them crucial for the preservation and creation of musical heritage. Who was Supreme Commander of the Allied Powers during the occupation of Japan immediately following World War II? Douglas MacArthur. Douglas MacArthur served as the Supreme Commander for the Allied Powers, SCAP, from 1945 to 1951, overseeing the Allied occupation of Japan after World War II. He played a pivotal role in demilitarizing Japan, establishing a new democratic constitution, and implementing economic and social reforms. What is the main protein of connective tissue in animals and the most abundant protein in mammals, making up about 25% of the total protein content? Collagen. Collagen is the most abundant protein in mammals, constituting about 25 to 35% of the body's total protein content. It is a vital structural protein, forming the primary component of connective tissues like tendons, ligaments, skin, and bones, providing strength and elasticity. Jacqueline Lee Bouvier became better known as whom? Jackie Kennedy. Jacqueline Lee Bouvier married John F. Kennedy in 1953 and became First Lady of the United States in 1961. As Jackie Kennedy, she was a cultural icon, known for her style, grace, and efforts in historical preservation of the White House. What word best describes a triangle where all sides are different lengths? Scalene. A scalene triangle is a type of triangle in which all three sides have different lengths, and consequently, all three angles are also of different measures. This distinguishes it from isosceles, two sides equal, and equilateral, all sides equal, triangles. In which city did General Jodl, the German Chief of Staff, sign the surrender document on the 7th of May 1945, ending World War II in Europe? Reims. On May 7, 1945, at the Supreme Allied Expeditionary Force headquarters in Reims, France, General Alfred Jodl, Chief of Staff of the German High Command, signed the unconditional surrender of all German forces. This event officially marked the end of World War II in Europe, leading to victory in Europe, VE Day. What is the longest named river in North America, which runs from Montana to near St. Louis, Missouri? Missouri. The Missouri River is the longest river in North America, flowing approximately 2,341 miles from Montana to its confluence with the Mississippi River near St. Louis. It plays a significant role in the hydrology, history, and economy of the central United States. Of whom, when told he intended to return to private life and retire to his plantation, did King George III say, if he does that, he will be the greatest man in the world? George Washington. George Washington's decision to voluntarily relinquish power and return to private life after serving 2 terms as president set a powerful precedent for democratic governance. This act of selflessness was widely admired, even by former adversaries like King George III, highlighting his unique character and commitment to Republican ideals. In which city did popes officially reside from 1309 to 1378? Avignon. Avignon, France, was the official residence of the popes from 1309 to 1378. A period known as the Avignon Papacy or the Babylonian captivity of the papacy. This era significantly impacted the authority and prestige of the Catholic Church and contributed to the later Western Schism. Western nations allied with the United States to intervene between warring countries and defend the border at the 38th parallel in which country? Korea. The Korean War, fought from 1950 to 1953, involved Western nations allied with the United States intervening to defend South Korea against North Korean aggression. The 38th parallel served as the initial dividing line between the two Koreas and remains the heavily fortified border today. What was believed to be a hemisphere above the ground, carrying the fixed stars and surrounding the 7 spheres of the planets, through which the sun and moon moved in and out through a series of openings? Firmament. The concept of the firmament was a pre-scientific understanding of the cosmos, often described as a solid, transparent dome or vault above the earth, holding the stars and separating the celestial waters from the terrestrial. This ancient cosmological view predates modern astronomy and was prevalent in many early cultures and religious texts. Which play's characters comprise 2 married couples called Honey and Nick, and Martha and George? Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? Is a seminal 1962 play by Edward Albee, renowned for its intense examination of a dysfunctional marriage between George and Martha, and their interactions with a younger couple, Nick and Honey. The play explores themes of illusion, disillusionment, and the harsh realities of human relationships, making it a classic of American theater. Who was the Venetian who made a number of journeys to China and India in the 13th century and was later taken prisoner by the Genoese? Marco Polo. Marco Polo was a Venetian merchant and explorer who, in the 13th century, undertook extensive journeys through Asia, most notably to China and India. His detailed accounts of his travels, compiled in Il Milivan, The Travels of Marco Polo, introduced Europeans to the culture, geography, and wealth of the East, significantly influencing later explorers. What is the Diet of Worms? The religious court that judged Martin Luther in 1521. The Diet of Worms was an imperial assembly convened by Emperor Charles V in 1521 in Worms, Germany, where Martin Luther was summoned to recant his religious views. Luther famously refused to recant unless proven wrong by scripture, an act that solidified the Protestant Reformation and profoundly impacted European religious and political history. The Kalahari Desert is on which continent? Africa. The Kalahari Desert is a vast, semi-arid sandy savanna in southern Africa, covering parts of Botswana, Namibia, and South Africa. While technically not a true desert in all areas due to higher rainfall, it is characterized by extensive sand dunes and supports unique flora and fauna adapted to its dry conditions. Who, in 1831, first demonstrated that the motion of a conductor in a magnetic field generates an electric current? Michael Faraday. Michael Faraday's experiments in 1831 laid the foundation for electromagnetic induction, demonstrating how a changing magnetic field could induce an electric current. This discovery was crucial for the development of electric generators and transformers, profoundly impacting modern technology. Who was the King of England who succeeded James I? Charles I. Charles I succeeded his father James I as King of England, Scotland, and Ireland in 1625. His reign was marked by significant conflict with Parliament over royal prerogative, religion, and finance, ultimately leading to the English Civil War and his execution in 1649. What instrument was designed to measure variations in temperature by the expansion or contraction of a liquid or gas? Thermometer. A thermometer is a device used to measure temperature, operating on the principle of thermal expansion. Typically, it contains a substance, like mercury or alcohol, that expands or contracts predictably with changes in temperature, allowing for precise measurement. What Indian people drove out the Toltecs and were conquered by Spain in the 16th century? Aztecs. The Aztecs were a Mesoamerican people who established a vast empire in central Mexico, flourishing from the 14th to the 16th centuries. Their civilization was known for its sophisticated agriculture, impressive architecture, and complex social structure before being conquered by Spanish conquistadors led by Hernán Cortés in 1521. What is the name for a nutritional disease caused by a lack of vitamin C? Scurvy. Scurvy is a debilitating disease caused by a severe deficiency of vitamin C, ascorbic acid. Symptoms include weakness, anemia, gum disease, and skin hemorrhages, and historically it was common among sailors on long voyages without access to fresh produce. In which country is the town of Passchendaele? Belgium. Passchendaele is a village located in the West Flanders province of Belgium. It gained historical prominence as the site of the Third Battle of Ypres in 1917, one of the most brutal and costly battles of World War I, often referred to as the Battle of Passchendaele. What were the penny black and the 2 pence blue that first went on sale in England in May 1840? Postage stamps. The penny black and 2 pence blue were the world's first adhesive postage stamps, introduced in Great Britain in May 1840 as part of postal reforms. Their introduction standardized postal rates and facilitated the universal prepayment of mail, revolutionizing communication. Making a U-turn results in a change of direction of how many degrees? 180. A U-turn involves reversing one's direction of travel. This maneuver changes the orientation by 180 degrees, effectively turning to face the opposite way from the initial path. The group of 48 United States that are between Canada and Mexico is referred to as the continental or what United States? Contiguous. The contiguous United States refers to the 48 states located in mainland North America, plus the District of Columbia. This term distinguishes them from non-contiguous states like Alaska and Hawaii, and overseas territories. Which scientist allegedly used mirrors to focus the sun's rays to burn Roman ships during the siege of Syracuse around 214-212 BC? Archimedes. Archimedes, a prominent ancient Greek mathematician and inventor, is credited with many innovations. The legend of him using an Archimedes' death ray to defend Syracuse by focusing sunlight on invading Roman ships remains a popular, though debated, historical anecdote. What British institution has the nickname, the Old Lady of Threadneedle Street? The Bank of England. The Bank of England, the central bank of the United Kingdom, is famously nicknamed the Old Lady of Threadneedle Street due to its historic location. Established in 1694, it plays a crucial role in maintaining monetary and financial stability. Who married Sir Winston Churchill? Clementine Hozier. Clementine Hozier married Winston Churchill in 1908 and was a significant influence throughout his life and political career. As Lady Churchill, she was known for her intelligence and strong character, providing invaluable support during pivotal historical moments, including World War II. Which artist, born in Leeuwarden in 1898, is famous for his optical illusions such as ascending and descending, convex and concave, and metamorphosis I? M.C. Escher. Moritz Cornelis Escher, commonly known as M.C. Escher, was a Dutch graphic artist celebrated for his mathematically inspired woodcuts, lithographs, and mezzotints. His works often feature impossible constructions, explorations of infinity, architecture, and tessellations, making him a master of optical illusion. In Britain, rationing ended, the London gold market reopened, Roger Bannister was first to run a mile in under 4 minutes, and the Queen returned from a tour of the Commonwealth in which year? 1954. The year 1954 marked several key post-war developments in Britain. The end of rationing signified a return to normalcy, while Roger Bannister's sub-4-minute mile was a monumental athletic achievement. The reopening of the London gold market also represented a step towards economic recovery. What infectious disease, occurring commonly in epidemics and caused by a virus, is characterized by a blotchy rash preceded by a running nose and eyes, with a rise in temperature and lassitude? Measles. Measles is a highly contagious infectious disease caused by the rubeola virus, primarily affecting children. It is characterized by a distinctive maculopapular rash, fever, cough, runny nose, and conjunctivitis. Widespread vaccination programs have significantly reduced its incidence globally. What name was applied to legislation regarding the sale of liquor in the United States between 1919 to 1933? Prohibition. Prohibition in the United States refers to the nationwide constitutional ban on the production, importation, transportation, and sale of alcoholic beverages from 1920 to 1933. Enacted through the 18th Amendment, it was a period of significant social and legal change, eventually repealed by the 21st Amendment. What is the inherited condition characterized by the body's inability to properly excrete copper, leading to its accumulation in organs like the brain and liver, causing damage? Wilson's disease. Wilson's disease is an autosomal recessive genetic disorder causing excessive copper accumulation in the body, primarily in the liver, brain, and eyes. This leads to symptoms such as liver damage, cirrhosis, neurological dysfunction, and psychiatric issues if left untreated. Who composed the celebrated opera, The Magic Flute? Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. The Magic Flute, German, Die Zauberflöte, is a German opera in 2 acts by Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Premiered in 1791, it is one of Mozart's most beloved and frequently performed works, renowned for its blend of fantasy, symbolism, and profound musical themes. In which Olympic Games did female athletes first compete in track and field events? The 1928 Amsterdam Olympic Games. The 1928 Amsterdam Olympic Games marked a significant milestone for women's sports, as it was the first time female athletes were officially allowed to compete in track and field events. This inclusion represented a progressive step towards greater gender equality in international sports, though their participation was still limited. Portree is the primary town on which prominent Scottish island? The Isle of Skye. Portree is the largest town and capital of the Isle of Skye in the Inner Hebrides of Scotland. It serves as a central hub for tourism and local services on the island, known for its picturesque harbour and dramatic landscapes. Among the given options, which play was not written or co-written by the Nobel laureate Harold Pinter? Look Back in Anger. Look Back in Anger is a seminal play by John Osborne, first performed in 1956, which famously coined the term, angry young men. Harold Pinter, a distinguished British playwright and Nobel Prize winner, is known for his distinctive style of Pinteresque drama, characterized by pauses, ambiguity, and underlying menace, but Look Back in Anger is not one of his works. What component of tonic water is used to prevent or alleviate the effects of malaria? Quinine. Quinine is an alkaloid historically derived from the bark of the cinchona tree. It has been widely used as an antimalarial drug and also gives tonic water its characteristic bitter taste. What is the scientific symbol for calcium? Ca. Calcium, Ca, is a chemical element with atomic number 20, belonging to the alkaline earth metals. It is vital for living organisms, particularly in the formation of bones and teeth. The capital of the USA, Washington, D.C., is bordered by Maryland and which other state? Virginia. Washington, D.C., the capital district of the United States, is geographically situated on the Potomac River. It shares its borders with the states of Maryland to the north, east, and south, and Virginia to the west and southwest. What is the only country not to identify itself on its postage stamps? United Kingdom. The United Kingdom is unique in that its name does not appear on its postage stamps. This tradition stems from its role in issuing the world's first adhesive postage stamp, the penny black, in 1840. African nations boycotted the Montreal Olympic Games in 1976 as a protest against a recent tour of South Africa by a rugby team from which country? New Zealand. The 1976 Montreal Olympics saw a boycott by 29 African nations, protesting New Zealand's rugby tour of apartheid South Africa. This action highlighted the international community's opposition to South Africa's racial segregation policies. What are Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg collectively known as? Benelux. Benelux is a geopolitical and economic union of 3 neighboring countries in Western Europe, Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg. The name is derived from the first 2 letters of each country's name, and the union was formed in 1944. Which painting was considered scandalous in 1863 for depicting nude women alongside men dressed in contemporary clothing? Le déjeuner sur l'herbe by Edouard Manet. Edouard Manet's Le déjeuner sur l'herbe, The Luncheon on the Grass, shocked audiences in 1863, not primarily for its nudity, but for placing a nude woman in a modern setting with dressed men. This work is a landmark in the history of modern art, challenging traditional academic painting. What is another medical term for freckles? Brownish-yellow spots primarily found on the face, neck, and hands. Lentigo. Freckles are small, benign spots on the skin resulting from increased melanin production, primarily due to sun exposure. While ephelides is the specific medical term for common freckles that lighten in winter, lentigo refers to a broader category of pigmented spots, which includes sunspots that are more persistent and often darker. Where was the decisive battle fought in June 1645 between the Royalist forces under Prince Rupert and Oliver Cromwell's Parliamentarian army, which proved crucial to the Royalists' eventual downfall? Naseby. The Battle of Naseby, fought on June 14, 1645, was the decisive engagement of the First English Civil War. The Parliamentarian New Model Army, under Oliver Cromwell and Sir Thomas Fairfax, inflicted a crushing defeat on King Charles I's Royalist forces, effectively sealing their fate. Who received a replacement gold medal at the 1996 Olympics for the one he allegedly threw away after being refused service in a whites-only restaurant in his hometown? Cassius Clay. Cassius Clay, later known as Muhammad Ali, won a gold medal in light heavyweight boxing at the 1960 Rome Olympics. He reportedly threw his medal into the Ohio River as a protest against racial segregation. He received a replacement medal at the 1996 Atlanta Olympics in recognition of his enduring legacy as an athlete and civil rights activist.